Hi, everyone. My name is Camellia. I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, also known as a PMHNP. I'm also a nursing and mental health enthusiast. And I'm actually getting on here today first to say thank you to all of you who have recently subscribed, those of you that have asked questions, who've made comments on the videos that I have posted thus far. My goal for this channel has been and will continue to be sharing my own journey and experience as a PMHNP to possibly support or facilitate, to lessen the load, to answer questions and any clarity that's needed around the PMHNP role. So I have endeavored to do that thus far. I plan to continue to do that. Therefore, you guys will not see or hear anything on this channel that I have not experienced. I am also endeavoring to continue to remain very transparent about my experiences as a PMHNP. So with that said, today I have recently been reflecting on some things, which I do quite often. I reflect a lot, but recently I was reflecting on my journey thus far as a PMHNP, and I thought, based in the timing, I'm about 5 years into being a PMHNP, that this was a good time to not only reflect, but also to share with you guys what I've learned, any lessons learned, any insight that I have at this point, how things are going for me now. So I just wanted to take a moment or a few moments to actually share that with you today. I think one of you also asked me about this, so whoever you are, I want to do this so that you also kind of know, now that I've been doing this for a little bit, what things look like now. The first thing I'll say is I have no regrets. There are some things that I've learned, but I also look at learning as a growing opportunity. I also look at these lessons as ways to continue to flourish and grow and improve. But I've also had some times that have not been so great. And I'll continue to be transparent about that. But the first thing is being 5 years into being a PMHNP, and I sort of jotted some of these things down. I went into this role or this program as an MSN program with an MSN program as a PMHNP specialty. A little bit more concerned, honestly, if I'm transparent, about the limitations that I could come across with finding a job, being able to have opportunities, enough opportunities to meet the demand. But I can tell you that, and if you've followed me for a little bit, you know that I've worked in many settings thus far, the emergency room, I've worked in outpatient, telepsych, private practice. Those are all sort of different in their own way. But those opportunities have been endless. And I can tell you that if you are a person who's concerned about being limited as a PMHNP, it's completely opposite of what I expected. Now, of course, some of the timing and the culture, generally speaking, is changing. And so some of that may be based in that. But I can tell you that if you are concerned about that, with the opportunities being available, you likely will not have that issue for some time. Okay. The other thing is my favorite position or setting thus far, compared to where I've worked in the few different settings, has been outpatient. I love this setting. I love the ability to build rapport with patients. I love being able to see their quality of life improve. It's very rewarding. And I also love the team aspect of it, which you can't get around really in any setting, but it's very important in the outpatient setting. So I do love that. So that's my favorite setting so far. What has this journey taught me thus far as a PMHNP? First, it's taught me how to be patient. I can tell you guys that I was not a new nurse going into my MSN program. I actually waited things out for quite some time. I was a nurse for 11 years, worked in quite a few settings, including bedside, being an educator. I probably wish I would have done it a little sooner, honestly, but I do think there was some value in waiting things out for me as a nurse. However, what that means is that being patient has been important because essentially I started over, meaning that I felt pretty proficient. I felt really good about where I was in my nursing career in terms of what I was doing. However, it felt like when I started as a PMHNP that I sort of started over. And one thing I'll say is that you have to be willing to do that. A lot of times people think that being a nurse is a progression. Being a nurse practitioner is sort of it's a progression from being a nurse to a nurse practitioner. And that's really inaccurate. I like to demystify that thought because you really are working in two separate roles. That's one of the challenges that I see working as an academic coach for an MSN program is that students have a hard time getting out of that bedside nursing mentality. You are really functioning in a totally separate role as a nurse practitioner or as a healthcare provider. So really consider that. Now that I feel more confident as a nurse practitioner, it did take me some time to get there. I feel like I'm more versed in managing various conditions. However, I still have to be patient because there's lots that I have to learn. I'm not versed in all conditions. I haven't had a lot of experience with substance use disorders, for example. And so I've learned a lot. I'm continuing to glean from resources, supervising physicians, and clinical experience as I go, but there is still a lot to learn. So be willing to do that if you are considering this route. That's one of the most important things that I think I've learned so far. Also, I've learned how to be a leader. If you are going to be a nurse practitioner in any setting, it doesn't matter, a PMHNP, an FNP, you are inevitably going to be a leader. And that's because you're leading clinical outcomes, you're leading patient care, you're leading your clinical care team, you're leading patients. So whether you want to be in that role or not, you have to be willing to accept that role. You are a leader. And so this has taught me a lot of skills that are necessary in terms of being a leader, which is a positive. From the administrative side, guys, well, let me go back to some of the not so positive things. The one thing that I think I come across, not very often, but I have come across that doesn't seem as positive is that, I actually have had moments where I felt a little bit more burned out. And I, have had to sort of take a step back. There are times I consider, is this really what I want to keep doing? But that's where, and I did a video on this as well, I have to check back in and stay grounded, have to do my own wellness breaks, take my own wellness breaks. And so I'm very, very ritualistic about that because it does help you to limit that potential. And you can become, burnout in any profession. However, in this profession, it can become more taxing over time because of the nature of the work. So I will say that's probably a not so positive thing, but it is something that you can help mitigate by doing your own work and taking the breaks that you need, which I have found very helpful. I've also learned from sort of an administrative side of things that I've learned how to be a contractor. I've been a contractor, particularly in private practice. The not so great things about that, I've learned that you have to, drive your own practice. You have to drive your own financial impact. I've learned the tax side of things being a contractor. I've learned, sort of the unstable things that can happen with not being paid if patients don't show up in certain settings as a contractor. And so sort of an unsteady income that has been a sort of a negative or not so positive aspect of being a contractor. So I've learned that side of things. I've also learned, which, there's many opportunities to do that as a PMHNP. I have also learned, guys, just with employment, how to negotiate in general. There's a lot of value to becoming specialized in psych, and I've learned how to negotiate. I've learned the value of the role, and that has helped me to kind of learn the ins and outs of negotiation, especially for employment. those are just some of the things that stand out to me. I'm sure there's lots of other things that I haven't really thought through. But I'm 5 years in. I've learned a lot. There have been some moments that have not been so positive. However, it's been a great experience thus far on my journey. And I have no regrets, as I mentioned initially. So you guys, I want to, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, asking questions, commenting. If you have questions about where I am on my journey or any additional questions, you can definitely message me if you'd like. I do have some things coming up that I'd like for you guys to hang around for. I'm going to be doing a resource e-guide shortly. I'm also working on the psychiatric interview resource. I'm also working with my twin sister, actually, who's an FNP. She will be coming on here at some point in the near future. A lot of you have asked me about, being an FNP versus a PMHNP. And so I really want you guys to kind of see that and hear about that in real time. My sister has been in FNP a little longer than I've been in PMHNP, so she's about 7 years in. So I plan to have her to share her experience, but also so that we can sort of compare where we are in terms of our specialties. And I want to have her to bring some insight to this channel as well. So look out for that. I'm also delving into the holistic side of things as a PMHNP, so I will be sure to share that aspect of my journey as I go. But you guys feel free to message me, stay engaged here. And I look forward to continuing to hear from you guys, connecting with you guys as we go. And thanks again for listening.